right. Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day so far. My name is Patrick. I run the marketing department here at Art Storefronts. I've been doing that for years and years and years now. And let's get into the agenda for today's session, shall we? My game plan is to rant for a few minutes, as I often like to do, about whatever the topic du jour is, and I've got a pretty good one. Ooh, Amy, your camera is distracting me. I'm going to stop that. I usually rant about marketing related things, like, you guys have all got sucked into the Art Storefronts ecosystem somehow, some way, and you're here and you're like, who are these people? Do they know what they're talking about? Can they help me? Can they help me live out my dream of a successful artist, a photographer that has a growing business? Why do they email me so much? All of these various different types of questions. And so that is why we run these sessions. We find in-person video sessions where you actually get to talk to the top people in this company is probably the most effective form of communication that we can do outside of being face-to-face and in person, which obviously is not possible because this is a big planet and we're all in different geographic locations. So my agenda today is to rant on a marketing subject for a very hot minute and then pivot immediately into Instagram. And what I like doing on these sessions is, yes, teaching a little bit, but then we go into the hardcore tactical, meaning I've got the cell phone up on the screen. I'm going to walk you through some things. I want you leaving this session today going, you know what? I can make more Instagram reels. I can get better at making those things. I know I need to be making more of those things. And after it's all done, I will send you a replay of this. And so I tend to talk fast. No one's ever been able to slow me down. I've tried. I got like a second grade report card and it says Patrick needs to slow down, so I can't do it. So I realize it'll be quick, but there will be a replay sent to you after the fact where we can get into the nitty and gritty details. In addition to that, as the session rolls along, if you look at the bottom of your Zoom window, there's a little chat button bubble thing. And if you click that, it pops out the little chat thing and you can, see that. Like Lewis, I see your chat in there, and no, I am not related to Rob Shanahan, although he calls me cousin and I call him cousin, and we do share a last name. And just cause Lewis asked and I have it, give me 1 second because I got to show this off. I think it's kind of cool. I definitely own a Rob Shanahan piece. He's got some phenomenal stuff, and talk about a genius photographer that never signed the rights away on anything. Good on you, cousin Rob. So, okay. Where do we go from here? I want to start off at the top, and I think this is really important, and I want to come out and say it. And it's going to be a bit of a rant. Just endure, okay? Endure, and then we'll get right into the Instagram stuff. And the rant is simply this. We've been in business for almost 10 years now. We have a little bit over 10,000 customers. And in addition to those 10,000 customers, I get to see who sells the most, who's selling better than others, who's selling the most expensive stuff, who's selling volume. And then I get to see their analytics sources, right? And so I get to see where those sales are originating from, how they're coming, what the traffic is. Did it come from email? Did it come from Facebook? Did it come from Instagram? All that. Okay, great. In addition to that, I've been doing these sessions like this since a little bit before the pandemic started. So what is that, like 3 years ago? And I mean, I have to have talked to hundreds of thousands of photographers and artists at this point in time. And what I've realized during that entire journey is there's only 3 ways to make it in today's day and age. If you want to be a successful artist or photographer, and let's loosely define, just so we have some teeth to the numbers, if you want to be a successful artist or photographer, and we're going to say that's $100,000 in gross sales a year, okay? I know that's a high number. There's only 3 ways to go about it. Number 1 way to go about it is all of your guys' deepest, darkest number 1 desire, which is you're in an art gallery. All you do is create. You hand all of that over to the art gallery, and the art gallery sells it all. And that's fantastic. That's the way it's been for years and years and years and decades and decades and decades. And, the reality is that during the course of running the marketing department in this business and seeing the data, during the course of reading books, during the course of having all of these people come on here and ask questions, tell me about where they've been, customers I've seen, as well as some Freakonomics podcasts, which are really, really good on this topic. They did a 3-part series on it that's really, really good. The number of people that are making 6 figures a year selling through a gallery is less than 5% of all artists and photographers that are out there, okay? Less than 5%, and that's me being generous. The galleries takes a 50% haircut, and so now you're down to $50,000 a year in gross sales. Then you have to subtract your photographic gear and equipment, your studio, your materials, your supplies, and you're left with maybe $45,000, $35,000 a year. Let's just, to make that picture rosier, okay, to try to get to $100,000 in income, let's just say that you're selling $300,000 a year in that gallery. Okay, at the end of the day, you're now still down to barely $100,000 of take-home pay. And the percentage of artists and photographers that are in that position, $300,000 a year in gross sales in a gallery model, $100,000 a year take-home pay, is less than 1/10% of artists and photographers that are out there. It is just not a viable business model. One of the ways I like to analogize it is it's kind of like pick a sport that you like or you play it or whatever. The percentage of artists and photographers that are doing that in a gallery model is no different than the percentage of people that play a sport versus the professional athletes in that sport. They are not good odds. Okay, I'm not calling it lotto odds, but they're just not good odds. Okay, that's the number one way to make it as an artist or photographer, have a successful business. The number 2 way, okay, is to become a road warrior. And this is totally a valid way to go about it, by which I mean doing 35, 45, 55, 25, somewhere in that number, shows and fairs in person a year, okay? And this is totally a viable model. It totally works. I totally see a ton of artists getting to that level of success, okay, doing that. Problem is booth fees and setup and tear down and driving and staying in crappy hotels and eating crappy meals and time away from your family, and all of that pertains. And so it's a very difficult way to go about it. And, if I was a young artist, that would be the number one thing I would tell myself to go and do, because you can do that when you're young, you're not married, you don't have kids, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have those financial commitments. But for the rest of us, that's a pretty hard thing to stomach, a pretty hard thing to fathom. Okay. Third way is what we advocate everyone does, which is you sell direct to your consumers, okay? You retain 100% of the revenue in your sales, you know who's purchasing your work, and you get a build a business. It is actually a simple way to get on the path to becoming a successful photographer artist. That problem is it's not easy, is it? Because you have to learn how to market. And what I've learned is that, at the end of the day, this whole process, and yes, Kathy, it applies to craft items too. This whole process, your guys trying to build this business is easily thought of, is best thought of, is 2 trains on 2 tracks, okay? On the left-hand track is your art, your craft, your business, your talent. It's you creating, you hours in the studio, you out there photographing, you getting better at that, you trying out different subject matter materials. And that's a train on a separate track. And sometimes the train is roaring, and sometimes the train feels like it got derailed, and everything in between. But your job is to make sure that train has no brakes, right? It's moving forward. The other train is you becoming artists at learning how to market and promote yourself, okay? And it's a separate train on a separate track. And that means you have to learn how to get good at marketing. You have to embrace it as a second vocation. You have to treat it as the art form it is, and you have to go into it full on and make sure that that train doesn't have any brakes. And that's it. That's really all you have to do. If you take care of the creating and all that entails, and you take care of the marketing, you're on the path to have a huge successful business that will continue to grow year after year after year after year. Okay? So once you understand that, it becomes pretty simple, because if you're working on something that's outside of those 2 trains on those 2 tracks, you're working on the wrong thing. You are on the path to having a hobby. There is no other viable business model that I've seen emerge in any volume whatsoever, aside from unicorns or, lottery ticket winners, aside from those 2. There's no one else that's going to promote your art. There's no one that's going to completely run your business for you. You're not going to magically find a publisher that's going to say your art is great. I want to put you in 1 million stores. And it's not to say that that stuff doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen with any frequency whatsoever. So when you come to terms with that, you realize I've got these 2 trains on 2 tracks. I'm responsible for both of them. It puts your focus 100% in the right place, okay? The other thing that I want to talk about, and then we'll get into the fun stuff, and I don't want to sugarcoat this, and I don't like sugarcoating it. One of the biggest problems I see endemic in this community is just completely out of line, out of whack, crazy expectations, okay? My position is there has never been a better time as an artist or a photographer as a result of the internet to get their work in front of more eyeballs than at any other time in the history of this world, okay? You know, before what you had to do versus now what you can do with a phone in your hand is absolutely staggering. Again, it doesn't make it easy. Where was I going with that whole rant? This world that we're in, this flattened world that we're in, this ability to use the internet to reach all of these various different people, to get them to bond with you, to know who you are, to know about the art you create, to give an email address, to eventually purchase something and ideally become a collector, someone that buys several pieces from you. It's never been easier to do, but it takes time. It takes time, by which I mean years. If you've not started in, you don't have an email list, you don't have a social media site, you don't have a bunch of Facebook fans and followers, you haven't sold a whole bunch throughout the years, it takes time, you guys. It takes years to grind out and get there. When you understand that, and when you set that proper perspective on how long it takes, when you give yourself the permission to understand that the train on the track that is marketing needs this attention, it needs its love, it needs its energy, and it's going to take you a couple of years, you're set up for success, rather than going, you know, I posted on social 3 times, I didn't sell anything, this is a waste, I'm going to quit, okay? And inevitably what I see is artists and photographers often treat the marketing train on the track like they would a New Year's resolution. This is going to be my year. I want to do this. I want to have a successful art career. And just like the New Year's resolution of going to the gym, January rolls around and you're going 4 days a week. It's a New Year's resolution. This is great. By the time March comes around, you haven't been to the gym once, right? And rinse and repeat. And it's important to say that. It's like critically important to say that, because if you can just set the perspective, like, I am going to grind this, I'm going to do this, I want this, I want to have this business, and then you know it's going to take you 3 to 5 years to build something of value, then you get on with it, you start grinding, you realize you're on a marathon, and you're going to end up getting there. There's never been a better time to get there. And it's really, really exciting to see, you know, some of my customers that have been at this 5, 6, and 7 years, and then getting to that like year 5, year 6, year 7, where you're really starting to hit your stride. You're getting some big sales, you're getting some big deals, and the business is growing. It is a final, you know, hundreds of thousands of artists on these things, Zoom sessions just like this one, the one you guys are on. I routinely get people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s in on these Zoom sessions. And I think that's important to say. Like, I like marketing, you guys. I like running a marketing department. I like getting my hands dirty and getting in there and shipping Instagram posts myself. But let me tell you, when I retire, I'm done. Maybe I'll go start a restaurant or something, but I'm not marketing anymore. And yet routinely on these calls, it's guys and gals like you in every single solitary season of life. You don't turn it off. This desire to create art, to create photography and potentially sell it, it never goes away. It's with you for the rest of your life. And so I say that to say, understand, have the perspective of how much longer you have to build this business, to build this career, and to get going on it. And so when you realize that, it's worth putting in the time, energy, and effort now to have yourself set up a couple years down the line. And I just think that perspective piece is really, really important. So now we pivot to Instagram, okay? Instagram is not only one of the biggest social networks, okay, it is also a giant visual search engine. What is it that you guys create? You create visual things. And there are buyers of every stripe imaginable. It is the single solitary most important social network for an artist or photographer. One of the ways I like to analogize it is, you know, when we are considering a purchasing decision for some sort of an item, what do we often do? We often go to read reviews. Most of the time that's Amazon. Perhaps it's Consumer Reports, and we go and see, is this a good item? Is it rated correctly? Where can I get it cheapest? And we go and buy it, whether that's locally or online. The same thing happens in the art world, and in the art and photography fine art world today. That same, I'm going to go check out, the credit check, the review check for a product. In terms of artists and photographers, it's Instagram, i.e., you're showing your work somewhere, an in-person show or fair, or you have it in a doctor's office, or a friend of yours has a piece and a friend of theirs comes over and sees it and they tell you about them, or you meet somebody on the street, whatever it is. They are going to check your credit, and that credit check is going to consist of looking at your Instagram profile and saying, what is this person doing on Instagram? Does it look like they're a serious artist? Let me scroll through some of our things, and all the data at the very, very high end of the art market all the way down to the lower end of the art market is all consistent with Instagram being the most important in terms of affecting buying decisions. There's some very good news in all of that. Instagram is one of the most sophisticated and incredibly versatile platforms that exist on the planet for promoting art and photography, okay? Absolutely amazing what it can do, and I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. The thing is, and this is going to be a little controversial for some of you, and I'm not known for not being controversial. These social networks are set up to give us dopamine hits to spend more time on their site and keep us engaged. This comes in the format of likes, comments, fans, shares, video views. And I'm here to tell you that almost all of those metrics are utter, total, and complete BS. You don't need to worry about them. You don't need to stress about them. You don't need to overanalyze any of them. The only thing that matters in today's day and age, especially given how fast these platforms are evolving and algorithm changes and new features and this and that, everyone loves getting hung up in the small nonsense, okay? None of it matters. The only thing that matters is, are you getting direct messages where people want to have a conversation with you about your art? Are you getting comments with buying questions, i.e., this is a beautiful piece, how much does it cost? This is amazing, you're so talented, you should sell it. This is incredible, it reminds me of such and such. Or purchases of your art, okay? When you realize that, wow, Sylvia, you're just not happy with me, huh? We already have a reasonable degree of buy-in. Okay. I'm going to get to it. Don't worry. I'm sure you'll like it, Sylvia. It's important to have the context. So when you understand that, and you understand that all of your potential buyers are Instagram for the most part, are on there, and you don't have to worry about view counts or likes or follows or comments or shares, those folks are there, and you only have to reach one of them to make a sale. It puts things in proper perspective. In addition to that, with Instagram Reels, what I'm going to talk about today, as a result of, for the first time in history, Instagram having competition. It's never had competition before. It's been a monopoly. Meta, which owns so-called Meta, what it's called now, owns Facebook, owns Instagram. Prior to this new competitor coming onto the scene, which was called TikTok, they had an utter total monopoly. There was a social contract that they had. The social contract said this: if you market on my platform and you start a profile, people will follow your profile, and if they follow your profile and you post on there, some small portion of them are going to see what you've created, okay? That was in a world where they had no competition. If you wanted your post to be seen by more people and to go further than that, you had to spend money on Facebook or Instagram ads, and that's the way that it was up until about 1.5 years ago. Then TikTok comes on the scene. TikTok starts stealing a ton of Instagram's followers, especially on the younger demo. And they're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And so they created a product called Reels, R-E-E-L-S. And what's interesting about this product is, before you would get started on Instagram, you'd have 2 followers. It would be your mom and your significant other. And you're like, why am I going to post on here? Okay, this is ridiculous. No one's seen my stuff. It's going to take me forever. Now, with Reels, when you create a Reel, you can potentially create a piece of content on Instagram where you have 2 followers and the Reel is shown to thousands of people if you create a compelling piece of content. And that constitutes like a complete obliteration of the known social contract. And that means you can just get started, have small follower counts. And if you create something that's amazing, tens of thousands to up to millions of people can potentially see it. And that is just an incredibly, incredibly encouraging thing. You have the ability to create and for people organically to see what you've created. And so I want to talk briefly about Instagram. I'm going to go into Reels. I am going to walk you through how to create Reels in real time and show you just how easy this is to do, and ideally leave you guys with some ideas of things you can do the minute this call is over to start creating some on your own, because it is just a fantastic way to get you, your art, your brand in front of potential buyers. So that's what I want to do. So if you can see my phone here on the right, and you know, if I'm not full screen, in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom window, there's a little view icon. Let me see if I can show it to you. It's this little box up here in the corner. And if you click that and you click speaker, it'll show me full screen. That could be helpful if you don't see a full screen. So let's talk about Instagram as a profile, as a platform. It is a platform within platforms. The way that I like to think about it is, you know, have you ever been to a house party and you go into a house party and people sort of organically congregate in one area of the house or not? You've got some people that are in the living room, and you've got some people that are in the kitchen, and you've got some people that are out in the backyard, right? And that's where they're hanging out, and that's where they're talking the whole entire time. Instagram is kind of like that. It's like that house party. There are several different parts of the social network that people congregate in. And you realize that that's the case, and then you start creating content for each of them such that everyone in the party sees what you're doing. And so here I am on the Art Storefronts profile. At the very bottom of it, you can see that we have these tabs. You've got home, search, a plus button, and then this little play button. The home button, okay, throws you into the feed. And this is the default feed, and it's full of a bunch of stuff. Everyone knows what this is. Everyone's seen it, right? If you go over to the Reels tab, this is literally just Reels, and this is this new product that Instagram has created. And if you flick these, oh yeah, you're right. I'm not looking. Thank you, whoever said that. If you flick through this, you can see these are all short form videos that people are making, and it's sort of becoming the new television for this next generation as well as other generations. And then the third room in the house, so to speak, is Instagram stories, right? And Instagram stories are these short little things that you create. It's not what the topic of today's, well, I'm going to show you a little bit about Instagram stories. And then as a final, you have your profile, right? And on your profile, you can see here, there's these things right here called story highlights. And they're really important too. And most of you guys probably don't have them on yours. And what story highlights essentially are, and I could show you how to create them if we want. Well, you guys can tell me at the end if you want to see it. That's essentially the menu to your website. Instagram is sort of almost like your website, and to a certain extent. And these little story highlights should represent the menu that you would have on your website. You know, home, about, limited editions, originals, commissions, prints, right? For instance, artist statement potentially. So what I want to do is I want to give you guys a framework for creating Reels. And before I do, I want to say one thing. I mentioned earlier that it doesn't matter, okay, likes, comments, shares, any of the nonsense metrics that Instagram gives us. The only metric that actually matters is number of pieces of content you create in a week. And I'll say that again, number of pieces of content that you create in a week. All right. And the reason for that is Instagram, and being successful marketing on Instagram is about serendipity. Okay. It comes down to, I'm in line with my shopping cart and it's busy in the store, and I decided to pick a line. I was in a rush. I was trying to edge someone else out, and then I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, this person has 250 things in their shopping cart. I'm stuck. I've committed. I'm in this line now. I pull out my phone. I look at Instagram, and because you posted something in the last 20 or 30 or 45 minutes, I see it. And I see it, and I remember who you are, and I'm now following you. That is the type of serendipity that happens only when you're posting more content. And when you set yourself up to post more content, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to embrace this marketing train on this track. I know I need to get really, really good at this. And so if I focus at a high level, not on likes or comments or shares, but instead on how many pieces of content I create a week, I'm going to win. And I'm telling you, you are going to win. The CEO of this company and myself, who run the marketing department, do 20 pieces of content a day between the two of us. We have departments to manage. We have a company to keep on rails, and we're on here doing this on Instagram. And it's not for our health, you guys. I'm not some guru sitting in a chair telling you what to do because I read it in someone else's course. I am making these things every single solitary day because they are fundamentally moving the needle for our business, and they can fundamentally move the needle for your business too. Now, your worry right now, before we get into the creation, is like, my life is not that interesting. Oh God, what am I going to do? Share what I had for breakfast? How vapid is that? No one wants no one had for breakfast. That's annoying. I don't live in a fancy house. I don't have the fancy car. I don't have hair. I don't have a special setup. I don't have makeup. You don't need any of that nonsense, okay? What people love are real human beings and what makes you tick as an artist. You, who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you interesting. Are you a dog person or a cat person? Do you live in Florida? Do you live in California? Do you like to work out? Do you like hats? Do you do CrossFit? Any of those things. People get bonded with the artist based on mutual enjoyments, mutual hobbies, things in common. When that happens, they are closer to buying the art. So the art is just as important as who you are as a person. So I want to go into real creation, and I want to show this in real time about how quickly I can do this and some features that are not immediately obvious to most people, okay? And to start out with, the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to go on here, and I'm going to go to podcasts, okay, because I have a podcast. It's called the Art Marketing Podcast. Side note, if you guys are not subscribed to this thing, you totally should be. And I'm going to pick an episode, okay? How many? Here it is. This is the one I like. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to screenshot this, okay? So here it is. Here's an episode that I did on the podcast. I'm going to screenshot it. Boom. You can see I just screenshot it. Now I'm going to go back to Instagram, okay? I'm going to come on the bottom of Instagram. You can see, actually, can you guys see it? There's a little bit too small. No, it's there. I'm going to go on to the little person icon, which is in the bottom right-hand corner. So there's home. There's a little person icon in the bottom right-hand corner. It takes you to your profile. I'm going to press the start menu up here, okay? And you can see it says reel, post, story, story highlight, live, guide. I'm going to go ahead and do a reel. And you can see I've got the green screen behind me. Don't worry about the green screen. That part is irrelevant. But what Instagram has is a feature called green screen, and it's extremely powerful, okay? Because what it allows you to do is have any photo or any video that you have from your phone at all. It could be your art, your process, you walking your dog, you cooking, any of the aforementioned what makes you tick things, and you can instantaneously leverage that as a background, okay? Kind of like, Lewis is doing there on Zoom, kind of like I'm doing my crazy Zoom background, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I'm just going to show you. It's this little green icon here, and some of you guys might have Android phones or different phones. If you can't find it right away, it's somewhere on these little orbs at the bottom. So I'm going to do the green screen, and you can see instantaneously it's taken and it's putting me with this image on the background. And this image is just a default image. They put a couple of them in there for you, and you can use some of those sometimes. But what I like to do is go to the camera roll. I'm going to go ahead and choose that podcast episode, and you can see it's now put me with this podcast episode in the background, right? And so I can move myself around, move my ugly face up, down, left, get it out of the way. And if I press that green button, I can make a reel. Now, reels are 120 seconds or less. So you have to get the whole thing done in 120 seconds or less, okay? I am now going to do this in real time. How many customers did you acquire last year? It turns out how many new customers an artist or a photography business acquires per year is one of the most important metrics that exists. And if you don't know what the number is, how are you going to double it or triple it? If you do know what the number is, you need some strategies how you're going to double it or triple it, because it takes a new customer to purchase, come back and purchase again, and then you have a collector, which is the lifeblood of any art business. I've got a podcast for you on it. It is very, very good. I want you to listen to it. It's the Art Marketing Podcast. How many new customers did you acquire last year? It is on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify. It's on Overcast, Stitcher, Acast, anywhere you might listen to podcasts. Listen to this thing. It's totally free, awesome, and it'll help your business out. I click stop. I click next. How many customers did you acquire last? I click next again. I can give this thing a title if I'm so inclined. I'm not going to do that. I can give it hashtags if I'm so inclined. I can click share. So what that's doing now is saving is a reel. So in less than like 2 minutes, I just created a pretty compelling piece of content for Instagram, and that was not that difficult. You guys could take images of your art, images of something you like, images of a thank you note someone wrote you, images of a customer that hung a piece of your art on the wall, and you could say, awesome, new piece of art hung on the wall. You could take a comment on social media or an email and screenshot that with your phone that says, thank you so much for your piece, thank you much for the show, you just got into a jury, anything. You can do anything, and instantaneously, with no special technology whatsoever, you can create a reel like that. And you can see Instagram has now taken this reel, it's placed it into the feed, okay? And remember, the 3 rooms of the house party, the feed, reels, and stories. So it's now taken that reel, and it's placed it into my Instagram feed, okay? And there it is. You can see it. People are going to start seeing that. They're going to be viewing it. They're going to find out about my podcast, and they're going to potentially go to it. In addition to that, look at this, you guys. Now, when you're on the reel itself that you just created, underneath it, there's a little paper airplane. You click that little paper airplane, and what this is going to allow you to do is add it to your Instagram stories, which is another room, okay? So I'm going to click add to story here on the bottom, and what this has done is it's now placed this reel directly into the Instagram story. And you know how we have, trailers for the movie and then movies? So it's automatically clipped my reel, made a short trailer of it, and then thrown it in here. So what happens is that it's going to play a few seconds of the audio, and then if it piques their interest, they're like, I want to see that movie, they click the button and they immediately go to it. And you have a bunch of features here, like I can change the background to whatever I want and cycle through and make it interesting. I can click this little sticker thing, and I can click podcast, okay? And I'm going to click podcast because that's what it is. Boom. Let's see which one I like. On air. Oh, that one's kind of cool. So I'm going to take this on air thing. I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to move this thing down. I'm going to move this thing up. And I'm now going to click next, share, done. So in a very short period of time, I've just created 3 pieces of content, really. There's one in my Reels tab. There's now one in my Instagram feed. And there's now one in Instagram story. One piece of content that I just created in a very short period of time is now in those 3 rooms of the house party. So now those 3 different people, some people go onto Instagram, they only watch stories. Some people go onto Instagram, they only do the feed. Some people only watch reels. I now have exposure to all 3 of them, okay? In a matter of just seconds. I mean, that's insane, right? Like, how quick was I able to do that? How quick can you could do this anywhere, by the way. The green screen thing works anywhere. You could be in your car, you could be on a walk, you could be in your backyard, you could be in your studio. It doesn't matter. Any screenshot, any video you have on your phone will do. It could be you playing with your grandkids, you playing with your kids, you walking your dog, whatever it is, you give people a little window into your world to what makes you tick. Dominique, you could be showing off that tattoo and talking about what the inspiration was. Then everyone that has tattoos, that loves tattoos, is now bonded to Dominique because they're like, this is a cool story behind this tattoo, right? Like, that is how it works. That is how powerful it is. Okay. That's one way to create an Instagram reel. The next way that I love, and I mean I love this, if you look in my feed, do you notice how here's a reel and there's a comment on top of it, okay? And so what happens is when you make Instagram reels and when somebody leaves a comment on an Instagram reel, you can hit reply. It throws the comment back there and you can reply to the comment, okay? This is one of the most beautiful things. They stole this feature verbatim from TikTok, and I absolutely love that they did because it's an incredible, incredible feature. So for you guys, these are the types of social media comments you're going to get all the time. You are so talented. This is amazing. This work reminds me of such and such. How much is this piece, right? Does it come in canvas? Is it a limited edition? Do you still have the original? You can grab that comment, talk about whether or not it's available, talk about how much it costs, talk about what your inspiration is, post that as a reel. Then the person that left the comment gets notified. And then not only that, you'll get a ton of views on it of other people. And other people are going to see like, whoa, somebody liked her work. Somebody liked his work, left a comment, and here he is replying, I want to go see that work. It creates a little FOMO. So let me do one of these guys in real time. So I'm going to go to the home button. I'm going to go up here to the heart button. and this just shows you your comments. I'm going to filter this for comments, and let's see what happens. Let me see if I can get a good one here. All right. A bunch of you guys commenting Zoom to come onto this, which I love. Let's just see. We find a good one here. All right, hold on. We get a lot of them, so I have to go through it. All right. Please send Instagram training session via YouTube. Where are the ways? Okay, here, I'm going to use this one. Hold on, where is it? Never got the custom link. No. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to go ahead on this one. I'm going to click here. So it's going to list all the comments that are on the reels. And where was the one? There was one here that I wanted to respond to. And don't worry about, how many of these things you get early on, because it takes some time. Taylor S., what is his last name? I had the same thing happen to me. Of course, now I can't find it because we get so many doggone comments. All right, I'm just going to respond to one easily. So if I hit reply here, and again, you can do this on any comment on any reel, okay? It automatically mentions the person who left the comment, and then it gives you this blue camera button, right? And so if I click the blue camera button, it's instantaneously thrown their comment right in there. And now I can just start recording a reel like I would ordinarily, and I can respond to them directly. And it is insanely powerful. And in addition to that, you have all the normal green screen features just like before. So if you want to dress up the background, or you want to change it, change the background instead of this to your art, something you could be like, this is the piece. Look at this. This is my neighbor's kid. I have like the phone in display mode. My neighbor's kid comes in here and just takes photos of my little demo phone. Tyrants, I tell you. Anyway, so I could change it to the podcast, right? And let's say somebody was asking me a question. I'd be like, I've got a podcast episode on this, right? And I could, boom, again, go through the whole process, hit record, and come up with another reel. And, as I look at my profile, and obviously I ditched that one, I'm not going to make it. Both myself and the CEO do this all day long because it's a very, very easy way to, and I'll turn the volume up so you can hear, it's a very, very easy way to create another piece of content. You're having a conversation one-on-one to your follower, and then you're actually having a conversation one-to-many with everyone in your feed. So let's see. This one looks good to see.
It is great to sell merchandise. And even though, you find artists out there that are only selling originals or limited editions at really high price points.
So instantaneously.
I love this. We've got a lot of art storefronts, painters, and photographers.
You're not talking about what you had for breakfast, okay? Or whether or not you like the weather today. You're directly responding to someone that's given you feedback in a social context. Extremely, extremely powerful way to create an Instagram reel. The third one I want to go to is personally my absolute favorite, okay? And what this process entails is going live on Instagram. You want to talk about why I love this social network and how powerful it is? It's called doing a live broadcast. Now, with an Instagram reel, it has to be 120 seconds or less, right? If it's not 120 seconds or less, you can't do it. Well, with Instagram Live, you can go for an hour, okay? And one of the things that I often teach my customers to do is run live art shows, meaning they stick the phone down, they hold up their pieces, and they rotate through everything that they have in their inventory, talking about it, talking about their inspiration, talking about the price points, answering questions directly. When you're done with the Instagram Live, what you're then able to do is it saves as a reel, and then you're also able to take the reel and put it in the story. So again, live broadcast, then you get something that saves in the feed, then you get something that you can put in your Instagram story. That is an insane amount of ROI for one marketing activity. I mean, absolutely insane. And I'm going to create one right now on the fly, show you how easy this is to do. And, I'm a kid that grew up with the Jetsons, right? And like the Jetsons, I don't know if people remember that. It was so long ago now. Like the promise in the Jetsons was like having like a video phone where you could have a video conversation. Well, we blinked, and now that's all possible. Except what I'm able to do here going live, because I have a ton of followers, is I'm going to press this button here and potentially be talking to like 40 or 50 or 60 of my followers. That's insane. That's like me having a store in the mall and opening the door and 60 people come in and instantaneously I'm having conversations with them about who I am, what makes me tick, what Art Storefronts does, how we can potentially help their business. And I'm not even leaving. Not only that, how meta is this? You guys are all in a Zoom live. I have my phone live up on a screen and I am now going to go live. That's insane. The fact that we can do that is insane. This is why I say it is the single solitary greatest time to be an artist or a photographer in history. We've never been able to do this without leaving our house. Are you kidding me? Some of you guys live in small towns. So it's just an incredible thing to contemplate. I want to do it. I got to figure out what I'm going to rant. I know what I'm going to rant on. Okay. So, by the way, no hair, no makeup, my ugly face that's built for radio, okay? Stupid green screen behind me. I don't care because I know the only metric that matters in my business is the number of pieces of content I ship in a week. All right. So, again, I just want to show you. There's home button, right? The profile button, the plus button up top, and this time we're going to go live. And one of the really cool things about when you go live is you can see up here, it's really small, but it tells you how many active followers you have right now. And one of the questions that I get all the time is, what's the best time to post, right? Is there one time that's better than the other? Yes, there is. You know what the best time is? When you have the motivation to do it. That is the best time. I don't care if it's 3 a.m, okay? Because I need all of you guys doing this more often. So that is how you answer that question. That's number one. But number two, what's interesting about this is that as you do more and more of these, and my goal for you is to do thousands of them, okay, you have the ability every time you do this to see how many followers you have online. And that's kind of an interesting metric. And again, if you're just getting started, it's going to be 2. It's going to be your mother and your significant other, right? But that's okay. We all got to start somewhere. All right? We got to crawl before we walk. Takes years, right? If any of you have your phones, and you want to pull them out, open Instagram, and go to Art Storefronts, you'll see what this looks like when somebody goes live, which is kind of interesting. So I'm going to do it right now. What's up, Instagram? It is essentially a meta Wednesday here because what I'm doing is I'm running an art business webinar. I've got 30 plus people in a Zoom call with me, and I'm teaching them how to go live on Facebook, or Instagram rather, by going live on Instagram, teaching them in real time, which is the single solitary best way to do it. And you guys can see a bunch of people are popping up here. I'm teaching these guys how to do an Instagram live. If you were in this Zoom session, I would be teaching you how to do the Instagram live. And you can do this for live art shows. You know, I could potentially be merchandising a piece of my art. Somebody asked me about my beautiful Seychelles palm tree photo that I took. It's on canvas. Here it is, edge to edge, beautiful. By the way, I'm in a good mood. I'm going to have a flash sale on these things today. So for the first person that sends me a direct message on Instagram right now, I normally sell this thing for $395, but I'm in a good mood. I'll sell it for $200. I need to get it out of here. My wife is telling me it's taking up too much space. You can merchandise your work. You could be showing your process, right? And you know what's interesting is that not only can you do this, but sometimes people request to be in your live with you, and then they can come right in. Sometimes this is hit or miss. We'll see, but I have a request here. Let's just see how this goes. All right, so this person asked to join the live. I have no idea who they are, and I'm just going to see if they pop in. And if they do, what it'll do is it'll split the screen between me and this other individual, and then instantaneously we'll be talking. How's it going?
How's it going? Fantastic. How are you, Patrick?
Good. Thanks for requesting. I'm actually teaching a bunch of people how to go live on Instagram, and I wanted to see if somebody would make a request. So I'm glad you did. Now, what do we have going on in the background?
Well, yeah, I'm in the Zoom with you.
Oh, you are? Wonderful. Do you have what's that art in the background? Do you have any live stuff going on?
That is my living room, a colossal mess.
That's okay. All of ours are a mess. Why do you think I have a green screen? I'm hiding a disaster in mine.
Yeah.
But pretty easy, right?
No, very easy. This is cool stuff.
Yeah. And what's going to happen is you and I are talking. All of my followers are already alerted to you, and they can now see what your screen name is. All of your followers are now alerted to the fact that you're live, and they see you're chatting with Art Storefronts, and they can click on my screen, and we can have a talk for up to an hour. We can sit here and read comments, pin comments, listen to them. So I can scroll up here and I can grab a comment And Christopher here gave a heads up. I can put my finger on it and I can pin a comment. And so let's say, what is your name, by the way?
I'm Lewis.
Lewis.
Yeah, Louis the Lens.
Louis the Lens.
Yep.
So Louis the Lens and I could be having a conversation right now on Instagram, right? And Louis and I are talking about lenses and talking about what his favorite lens is. And then a comment comes in like Christopher's, right? And I want to answer that comment, but I don't necessarily want to do it right away. So what I can do is I can pin that thing. And then when Louis and I get through whatever we're ranting about, I can go to that next one and say, okay, now I'm ready to answer your questions next, right? And I can close it down. And you guys, this is insanely powerful. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. And this is a live broadcast. There's 14 people watching this right now because it's the middle of the day. It's probably not the suboptimal day to do it, but it just shows you what's possible. And Louis the Lens, absolute pleasure, brother. I'll see you back in the Zoom. And so I'm going to end it. Okay. And after I end it, this screen comes up and it says live video ended. Okay. And it says view insights, discard video, or share. And if I click share, what that now allows me to do is give the thing a cover image, okay? And so I can choose an image from the thing itself and use that. Or if I want to, I can add an image as a cover image from my camera roll. So if you have it ready ahead of time, I can give it a title, I can give it hashtags, I can click share, and boom, now it's instantaneously been placed into my feed. Now I can go in and share that to my story again. And in whatever period of time that I've been presenting all of that. Do you see how much marketing I just did? That's more marketing than you guys have done in a month. And I just did it in 5 minutes, right? Like, how easy is that? That's easy. That is not difficult at all. The final thing that I want to talk about, and then we'll open it up to Q&A, is the following. The only thing that matters is the number of pieces of content that you put out in a week, okay? The easiest way to track this is you need to have an Instagram account that's set up as a business Instagram account. The good news is this takes about 1 second to do. You can switch from a personal account to a business account back to a personal account. You could do that all in the same day, okay, if you're so inclined. Completely reversible decision. But when you go to a business account, what it allows you to do is, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, there's this thing called a hamburger menu, okay, and it's right next to the plus sign, and there's 3 vertical lines. If I click that, I can go to Insights here. Where is it? Insights, which is their fancy name for stats. Okay. And this automatically throws me right onto this screen. And it says accounts engaged, total follows, accounts reach. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is content shared, right? And I'm going to go ahead and click my calculator so I can add up the content that I've shared. And it shows us here, okay, essentially the 3 rooms, right? And to reiterate, the 3 rooms of Instagram are, again, the feed, the stories, and reels, okay? And then the lives are kind of floating outside of those 3 rooms, but they go in the feed, they go in the reels. And so you can see for the last 7 days, Art Storefronts, I'm going to add this up in my calculator, has created 2 posts, 59 stories, 55 reels, 4 videos, plus 5 live videos. So we've created 125 pieces of content this week alone on Instagram. And 3 or 4 of those were today. We're right now, right? And why are we doing that? Because it is that effective, you guys. And let me tell you, it's not going to be that hard for you guys to go from 1 or 2 to 20. It's just not that hard. I mean, you create the 3 or 4 things in addition to the feed images that many of you have already been creating, and you're already there. And what happens when you do this is it turns out 2 trains on a track. Your creations, your newest vocation, which is marketing and becoming an artist at it, you start to learn things. You start to get a little bit more comfortable. You start to see what generates the buying questions. Who's sending you a direct message? Who's interested in purchasing work on your website? And these are the types of things that happen when you do this. And my contention is, yes, engagement et al., likes, comments, shares, profile taps, all the nonsense stats that Instagram gives you, those things are important, but they're not as important in ramping up your content production. Because when you ramp up your content production and you get good at it and you start getting more comfortable and you get over the fact that you don't have hair and you don't have makeup and no one cares that like Louis the Lens, your house is dirty, none of that ends up mattering, Okay. None of it ends up mattering in the slightest. You get better and better and better and better with the reps and sets. And when you do, you start learning when is the best time to post, and you start learning what type of content resonates, and you start getting more comfortable with the fact that like you're stuck in the car waiting to pick up your kids, and you realize that you can talk to your entire audience. And that's the ball game, you guys. Getting great at marketing, getting comfortable at marketing is how you build a formidable art business in today's day and age. And there is no, what's the best time to plant an oak tree? 30 years ago. What is the next best time? Today, right? Today. All right. Enough with my ranting. We open it up to Q&A. If you're old school and you have the camera on and you want to just raise your hand, that'll let me know you have a question. And yep, I got you. I got you, Deborah. Although I sort of doubt your name's Deborah. Deborah, I think you're probably using your wife's account. For everyone else, if you look at the bottom of the Zoom window, there's a little smiley face and it says reactions. You can click that thing and it allows you to raise your hand digitally speaking. And that lets me know you have a question. Then I can just go down the line. You can ask anything about what we did today in terms of Instagram, anything about what Art Storefronts does. If you're struggling with a business or branding or pricing or niche selection question, I can hammer those out too. I'd love to take and answer all of them. So we're going to start out with Deborah, who's definitely not Deborah. He's going to tell us what his real name is, and then we'll go down the line from there. And you'll need to unmute, not Deborah. It's the mic icon, bottom left-hand corner. You click it once, and that'll get you off. Oh, you're in here twice, actually, so I got to let you unmute on both. There.
Hi.
Gotcha.
My name is Shalom Neumann, and I'm an old guy, so I have someone who's younger than me, Deborah Fries, who's actually going to be doing a lot for me.
Awesome.
This is amazing. For someone who grew up with ice boxes or you know the story.
Yeah.
This is amazing. You're terrific. I just while I was listening to you, I was trying some effects on my
Instagram.
Instagram. As you can tell, I'm not.
No, that's all good. We all start like that.
It's not in my vocabulary yet, but there's so many buttons. I wish you could take step by step. I still can't figure out how to get that screen, the green screen up.
Yeah, so I can.
You went really fast. You did it well, but for an old guy like me, it's going to take a little bit of time. For sure.
And trust me, this is what I do all day with my customers. And what I found, we have this product called Office Hours, and kind of like the professorial office hours. And I get all my customers in a room, and this is what we do all week long. Because, there's the notion of show and tell, right? Like,
I'll be knocking on your door.
Yeah, don't tell, show. And it doesn't ever stop because this stuff is complicated. And pardon my French, but these bastards keep moving the goalposts quicker than I can even imagine. It's like, it's over here, then it's over here, then it's over here, which is why I advocate for, don't worry about any of these other nonsense metrics. They don't matter. The only thing that matters, like I usually tell my customers, like, I don't want you looking at your stats for a year. Not for a year, because I don't care. It doesn't matter. You have to learn how to do this. There is no other viable way to build an art business in today's day and age that I'm aware of. This is it. So let's come to terms with it and start grinding, right? But don't worry. That's what the replay is going to be for. It will show you in depth. Okay?
That's great. Thank you very, very much.
No,
you're great.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate that. All right, Louis the Lens, you're up. And it threw me off because I was like focused on your background, which is a totally awesome shot, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
9/11? Is it 9/11?
No, so actually I was at a Streets of New York photo workshop led by Hugh Brownstone last October. And we're walking through the city and they were having a memorial for, I want to say is the 23rd Street fire, 1965.
Wow.
12 firefighters lost their lives that day. And it was the biggest one-day loss of life, in the fire department up until 9/11.
Wow.
And so I got to photograph these guys. And I actually, I shoot a lot of military events and a lot of people. So that's part of my question is whether art storefronts is an appropriate venue for selling artwork that has people in it. You know, and I haven't been real good as far as like model releases. I do
Yeah.
you know,
So I
stuff.
have a very good and straightforward answer.
Okay.
And then I can tell you how we deal with it at a company level. I'm not a lawyer. It's not legal advice, right? Disclaimer.
Yeah.
I think operating under the easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission MO is the best way to go. What normally happens is if you start selling a ton of the thing and you start making a ton of money on the thing, then somebody will either send you a takedown notice or they'll come after you legally. It's not worth it coming after you legally until there's a ton of money. And I also operate under the don't be a dick premise, meaning if you've got somebody and you start selling it and they email you up, have an honest conversation with them and say, like, work it out, you know? But what Art Storefronts does is if we get a formal takedown notice, we will take down the piece in question. Otherwise, what you do is your business.
No, that's great. And kind of the second part of the question is that I have an online journal called The Courage Run, you know, with the website. And you know, reading your email earlier, it says that you're able to create a website for us where we can sell our work.
Yes.
I'm wondering, is it possible to pull the existing content, say from it's on Squarespace, you know, bring it into art storefronts, you know, maintain the blog, but add the component of the e-commerce?
Yeah, you could. We don't usually include that as part of our service of moving it all over. There would need to be, you know, a little bit of an examination about whether or not you're getting a ton of organic traffic on that stuff to begin with, because there's an argument that if you are getting a ton of organic traffic to begin with, to leave it there. You might not. We'd have to look at that. But otherwise, I mean, how many posts are we talking about? Are we talking thousands? Or are we talking like 60?
We're talking maybe, you know, a year's worth. So probably 100, between 100 and 200. It's not a huge amount.
Yeah. They'd probably work with you on moving it all over, and you certainly could move it all over. We have a blog feature. It's not like the most robust blog feature in the history of mankind, but, you know, really you have to ask yourself, what is that product doing? Is it helping you grow the business or not? And then ultimately make the call on it from there. If you feel like it is, great. If you feel like it's not at all, then it might not be the best use of your time. You have to make a decision there as well. But those are the types of things that we help you evaluate.
Okay. And is that the sort of thing that if I hire you guys that we would consult about it and take a look at my existing site and decide, oh yeah, just leave it where it is?
Yeah, well, it would likely be either me, my number two in command, or the CEO, and we would do it in office hours. Just a session just like this on Zoom, and just look at it and make the call.
Very cool.
Yeah. How do you know Rob Shanahan?
You know, my wife and I have been fans of the Hollywood Stones for quite a few years.
And he's in it.
And he's in it. And I showed up the first time with a camera, and I was photographing the event, and then I got the guys' email addresses, and, you know, I was sending them a link to my photos. And then I looked up Rob, and he was like, oh, wow, he's like a world-class photographer. And, you know, I reached out to him. I went to his house, you know, we hung out, and, you know, just became friends.
Yeah. Great dude.
Yep.
All right. We good?
We're good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Lee. All right. Celine, Sheridan, and then it'll go Rhonda. You're up next, Celine. Go ahead.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
Thank you. This information is amazing, and I've enjoyed it a lot. So question for you on the Reels. Somebody like myself, I'm not very comfortable doing videos.
Yeah.
Maybe yet. I'm not sure if I will be, but at the moment, not. So when you were talking about the green screen and then coming on in front of it and actually speaking. Is there a way to utilize that tool, but maybe just use an image with some text there? Or is that not effective?
Yeah. You don't get caught up in the weeds at all, right? Like, I usually use the bike analogy where it's like, Celine, I'm going to teach you how to ride a bike. And you're like, okay, well, what height is the seat at? Do I need to get some cool tassels? Do I need to make sure the chain is clean? Do I need to get a little note cards and the things that make that little noise? No. We're going to go out on the street. I'm going to push you on the bike. You're going to fall down a couple of times. And the next thing you know, you're going to be riding a bike. Don't overthink it. Just get going. And Celine, get over it. You need to be on camera. Okay? You're a beautiful young woman. You're going to do great. We all stumble at first. Get on with it and start shipping. Honestly. You have to be contrarian. Like all of us are in the attention business. Okay? All of us. And we have to be contrarian about the fact we have to go where the attention is, and we have to communicate effectively in that venue. The attention right now is on Instagram. You need to learn to communicate effectively in that venue. That's on video. I'm sure you are a remarkable human being to have a conversation with in person. It will maybe take you some time to get over it, but you have to be contrarian about it. And let me tell you, it's like half my face works, okay? Prior to COVID hitting, I was never on a piece of video at our storefronts because I was terrified. I hated it too. I got over it, started doing it. Now I present and it becomes old hat, and it's too effective. It's too effective. If you want this thing to work, okay, you got to get over it and you got to just do it. But it's like anything else, one step at a time. That's it, one step at a time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you want to do a live broadcast right now, Selena? We'll watch. I do this all the time where I have to like part of what I do, and thank you, Selena. Part of what I do with my customers is like I teach, I encourage, I motivate, I bribe, I pester, and I harass. And because that is what it takes sometimes to get them to get them to go. And Celine, if you came to a second one of these, I would not let you off the hook so easily. I could see you're terrified, but I would sit and wait until you went live. I would come on and start commenting. And after it was over, you'd be like, that was terrifying. And then you're like, it was kind of cool. All right. And then you get on to make the next one. So you're going to do great. Don't worry. Okay. Sheridan, you're up next.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for all this information today.
I like both your plant game and your hanging plant game behind you, by the way. I'm a fan already.
Yeah. No, I'm like, well, you can't even see them all, but there's like millions of plants all around the house.
I love it.
I'm a plant person.
There's a hashtag on Instagram called the Urban Jungalo. The Urban Jungalo, which I think is really funny. But yeah, I'm a huge plant person too, so touche. You see, hold on, just to tell a story, okay? Because she had her camera on, this is for Celine, and because I saw that she's got plants, I love plants too. Next thing you know, she and I are bonding over plants, and I'm one step closer to checking out her work and starting a relationship with her, and that's how it works in the real world.
Okay, so my question is, if we go with you guys, then are you going to kind of like, it sounds like you'll keep teaching us these techniques and tricks and stuff in what you call
for life.
Okay. In the office hours, but are you going to be like, okay, here's like your prescription, like you need to go live this many times, do it this every day. Like you'll give us like a full like checklist of, instead of just like, you need to post as many times as you can.
It's a calendar is what it is. And it tells you what to do 365 days a year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I'm good with like, you tell me what to do and then I like do it rather than like, just do it, that. Sure. Okay. That was my question.
Yeah. We hold your hand through like literally the entire thing the whole way. And, one of the things that we discovered during COVID that I can also pitch our newest service, which I'll talk about in a second. But one of the things that we discovered during COVID was like, that was a terrifying time, right? We're like, oh my God, we got to ramp it up. And so we started doing the office hours, which is just like this, Zoom calls, all of our customers in it, a couple days a week. We now run them 5-6 days a week. That left to your own devices, you will not market consistently. I know that for a fact. It's so if I don't get you in a room, and like I said, teach, cajole, encourage, harass, bribery, whatever I've got to do, poke, prod, you will not do it. And that is like the default. And so we do that quite a bit. We have a new service called Copilot, which is very, very interesting, that does about half the marketing for you. And our service connects to your email list. It connects to your Facebook. It connects to your Instagram. And it essentially runs all of the sales and posts your artwork. It handles that portion. What it doesn't handle, what we need you to do, is kind of what I showed you on the reels. What makes you tick? You're into plants. What is your process? Video stuff that only you can do. So we have that offering too, which is really pretty cool.
Okay, cool. That's like awesome. That's all I needed to know was like, there's a list. I can follow the list, but if it's just like do it, then it's like, oh, I have space and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I'll just say to you, Celine, I used to be terrified to go on video and do videos. And I teach a lot of online classes, and just in time, like now I don't even like care at all. Like no makeup, whatever, it's like, I swear to God, you'll get there. You just have to like do it. And then you're just like, whatever, because you learn it doesn't freaking matter. So.
It totally doesn't matter. And like I so appreciate you saying like the no hair and the no makeup, right? Because everyone gets like wound up, like my space has to be perfect and the lighting has to be perfect and I got to get this phone, I got to get this. Like people do not care about that, and they can smell bullshit. People love authentic, real. This is a normal human being with a normal life, just like me. And to Sheridan's point, like, my heart rate used to get racing. I was worried about my technology stack. Now there could be an earthquake. My kids could be yelling. The dog could be barking. My wife could be yelling at me, and I wouldn't even care. My Apple Watch wouldn't even. I don't have an Apple Watch. I have the Aura Ring, which I like. I wouldn't even register one extra beat. You have one too? Great, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even register one extra beat of heart rate. It's like, whatever. It's like anything else. You get good at it, and then you really start enjoying it. And people, one of the number one things that I'll do in my company, the CEO is the best friend of mine, so I can do this. He gets so pissed off at me because he's like, we have their websites for them. And the idea is that you want people to, and all artists want this too. I just want to put my stuff out there, do a little marketing, and then they just come and they purchase it, and then that's it, right? And the website will work like that. But I'm like, no! If somebody wants to purchase something, get one-on-one in a Zoom with them. Offer to do a FaceTime. Because there's nothing more effective at bonding. Like, what would be the alternative to today? I keep sending you too many emails. Maybe you click on an email. Maybe you read a blog post. Then finally you fill out my stupid form and you talk to somebody at the company and you sign up. Or we get in a room and we talk face to face. There is the best way to sell art in person, face to face. That will never change. The next best way, we're doing it right now. And when you understand that, and again, Celine, especially for you, when you understand it, you're like, okay, that does make so much sense. That's what I'm going to start doing. Like, I want you to have as much face-to-face conversations with your buyers as possible. I want you to do it until you physically can't do it because you got too many orders in a day. But anyway, end of my rant.
Nice rant. Thank you.
Good. And Sheridan, I like you already. We're going to talk about plants. I hope to see you on the inside.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested in doing the Zoom. So thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right, Rhonda, you're up next. Go ahead, Rhonda. Hi.
Thanks so much for all the videos this week. I've been following them. I'm not a customer of the storefront, and I was a little confused about the emphasis placed on the Instagram. Are you suggesting that Instagram is in addition to the storefront, or is Instagram a freestanding? That's all we need.
Yeah, it's a great question. You 100% need both. The problem is artists and photographers think they have a website problem, and they don't. Because if I was the genie and I just came out of the lamp and I was like, Rhonda, you tell me where you want your website, boom, I will snap my fingers, it'll be there. Do you know what's going to change in your business as a result of that?
The website?
Nothing. There's not going to be any new commerce being transacted. Nothing's going to happen because no one's going to the website in the first place, right? So, yeah.
You're talking about like a generic website, not
anyone, even ours, right? Like, let's say ours are the Ferrari of art selling websites and yours is the Honda Accord. It doesn't matter. Both of them are sitting in the driveway parked next to each other with no gas in the tank because no one's coming to them, okay? So, yes, you have to have the website. Extremely important to have the website home base, but that's when the trouble begins because you have to figure out a way to get people to come to the website. And that's where Instagram comes in. That's where all the marketing stuff that we teach you how to do comes in. So you need to have both. If you're in a place where you're not ready to make a commitment and you feel like you gotta work a little bit harder till you get there, Instagram is a great place to start. Instagram is mandatory too, but you have to have both. They work in conjunction.
Okay, so you're saying that Instagram is not a freestanding.
No.
It's not going to get us the sales.
Correct.
So, okay. The other thing I just wanted to comment on is that I 110% agree with you that people like to know the artist.
Yes.
I sold a lot of art on Palm Beach in Florida, and I was selling my art while I was working. I'm now retired to my art career, but I truly feel like a lot of my art sales were because the people knew me.
Yep.
And they knew that my paintings have a lot of feeling.
Yep.
And if they know my personality, then they know that the painting will take them places.
Yep. Another thing Celine needs to hear, right? And I'm picking on Celine because, that's what I do. I pick on people. But the larger point is like, and I've seen this borne out year after year after year after year after year. And it manifests itself in a couple of different areas. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I go onto someone's Instagram profile and it's 2D image after 2D image after 2D image after 2D image after 2D image, just the art, right? I don't know who they are. I don't know what makes them tick. I don't have any shared things to bond over aside from the fact that maybe I appreciate their art. Or I see it in people that are like, I've got to spend all this money on SEO because I know if I SEO my website, people will search Google, they'll find it, and they'll purchase the art. That's not how art sells. They want to know who the artist is, what makes the artist tick, and bond to them. That is how art sells. You don't randomly say, like, I need to get a landscape photo, and then go to Google and search landscape photos and buy one. Maybe one piece out of 100 that sell that way. The rest, you, the artist, are just as important part of the brand as the art is, right? And, I see this play out time and time and time and time again. And now it's gotten to the point where, like, I am hounding my customers to share more. And again, I'm not talking about, what you had for breakfast. I'm talking about what makes you tick, right? Like the things that you're interested in. I assume you paint Japanese looking screens or that's like a triptych behind you, right? Like maybe we start talking about that. I now know that you're from Palm Beach, right? And I've always wanted to stay in that Breakers Hotel. Tell me about it, right? Like,
The Breaker?
Yeah.
The Breaker?
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Palm Beach is you could call it an island of the misfits.
Yes. You could also call it an island of the 2 commas or the island of the 3 commas because you get a good house there costs $10 million. But yeah,
it could be island of anything. It's a unique place and it's a great place to work for 40 years.
Amazing.
But now off into another venture.
Yeah.
Not quite sure where that's going. And truthfully, just for all the other artists out there who have tried this, I retired for the purpose of launching my artwork. Well, easier it's just not a doable, pliable venture.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. The hard thing about hard things. But again, it is the greatest time ever to do it, as long as you can come to terms with the fact that it's going to be a grind for a little while, and that's just how it goes, and that's how it's supposed to go, and that's totally okay. And we just get on with it. We start doing it, and I'm extremely encouraged by those that do. And again, it doesn't. For me, one of the things that, like, it doesn't matter when you get started, right? Like, we have so many customers that have just started when they're retiring. We have so many customers that have 10 years left to go until they retire, and they're like, I want to start doing it now so that when I retire. That's not what I love. What I love about it is, like, purpose is a real thing later in life. And if you don't have it, you're in trouble, and the data and the stats bear that out. And what I love about art and photography is, like, everyone has a different definition of what success is for them. And maybe you did great retirement planning. Maybe you need the money. Who knows? But the point is that to have that purpose, to have that thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, that you're creating and that you're building a business, is an incredible thing to have in retirement, right? You're not faffing about, bored, like wondering what to do, like, you know, not moving and shaking. So I think it's an incredible thing.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renee. All right, next up is David. And I see the questions in the chat. I'll get those too. Don't worry. Oh, boo. So, David, check my screen. At the bottom left-hand corner, okay, there's the mic icon, and you're unmuted, but you have the wrong mic selected. That tiny little up arrow to the right of the microphone will give you the ability to toggle microphones. My guess is that you're on the wrong one because you were unmuted and I couldn't hear you. So maybe give it a switch and let's see if that gets us dialed in. Meanwhile, Sheridan's like, and now the camera's on me when I'm eating. Thank you, Patrick. I will take you down, Sheridan. Don't worry. See, Sheridan still doesn't care. It's all good. So yeah, try again. I'm going to unmute you again, see if there's a different audio source. Yeah, you're unmuted again. I can't hear you. Shoot. You know what you might do, David? Sometimes Zoom just sort of derps out, and if you leave and you come right back in, that sorts it. So I'll definitely hang tight and get there for you, so don't worry. Sylvia, do you want to ask your questions live, or do you want me to just deal with them in the chat? I'll unmute you. You can let me know.
Okay. All right.
Hi.
I'm easy to either way. I'm just thinking, what does a calendar for a month look like if I were to sign up for your service?
Yeah.
How many times would you contact me? How many chats would there be for me to be involved in?
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like?
Yeah. So we have an entire giant ecosystem at this juncture, and kind of a good analogy is kind of college. You know, college with an advisor, right? And in college, you have the textbooks, and we have our textbooks. You have the in-person classes, and we have our in-person classes. You have the one-on-one support with the TAs, and that can take a number of different formats. It can be a phone call, or it can be a chat, or it can be a Zoom chat, or they could make you a video. Then you have the interaction with your peers, because we have all of our members in a Facebook group that we call Small Wins, and everyone's in there. And the calendar goes 365 days a year, year in, year out, never stops. The educational materials constantly get updated. The individual sessions that we have, like this one, are 5 days a week. And what's really cool is Zoom has this feature called breakout rooms. And the easiest way to think of it is like, picture like the main lecture hall in college, and then an office on the left and an office on the right. And at any point in time, we all remember that time fondly. At any point in time, 5 days a week, you can come to the main lecture hall, whether you want to go to that session or not. And then you can jump right into one of the side rooms, and there's technical support help in there. And then there's also various different services that we have help in there. And so you can get all of that going in 2 seconds, 5 days a week at any point in time. So we heavily index on what we're doing right now, this video chat communication, try and get the thing unstuck immediately. And our technicians have the ability to take over control of your computer and fix things if you get stuck and that type of stuff. So all of that happens.
Can you show us a sample website for of a customer?
Yeah, absolutely, I could. And you know, one of the things that we do is the demo process. And the demo process is like, you know, our test driving the car. And so it's a Zoom session like this. They usually go about an hour, and they walk you through all the bells and whistles and all the back end of the website and the software and everything else. I think Louis left, not sure on here, but here's a guy that paints famous people and does extremely well. You know, has a huge business, and he does watercolors all day long of various famous different people in various famous different contexts. And, you know, all of our websites look more or less the exact same, and it's sort of by design. And, you know, one of the things that constantly infuriates me about artists and photographers is, and I want to dump the screen share for a second because I want you guys to focus on me. What is the best way to buy art or photography? It's in person, face to face in an art gallery. It always has been, it always will be. That is the paradigm, right? What do we notice about all art galleries and all museums for that matter? all white walls, the art on the wall, lights on the art, and nothing else. And nothing else, because the last thing you want to do is pull people's attention off of what is important to be showing. And when I look at everyone's websites that they build, there's audio playing and fonts and image sliders and videos to the point that if you actually saw the artwork, it would be a modern day miracle. And it infuriates me. And so I place a great deal of reference on why these sites are utterly, totally, completely minimalistic. You sort of don't see any of the background elements until you really focus on them. The pop of the work is what is drawn front and center. The fonts are minimal, but we have all kinds of cool features. This thing's called the wall preview tool, where you can size the work up and down and place it in a number of different rooms. And then we have all the paints from Sherman-Williams and Benjamin Moore, so people can upload their own room if they're so inclined, which is kind of cool. We have these various different media type viewers so they can look at the difference between a canvas or this or that. If you activate merch on your site, you can see what it would look like on a throw pillow or a phone case. And some people decide to do this. I don't want to get into a long debate on merch because we're kind of in Instagram land, but some people decide to do this right out of the gate. Some people decide to organize all of it in like a gift shop kind of a thing. So some people do that. So that's all on there, and easy checkout. There's so many features and so many bells and whistles in here. It's sort of a crazy thing. But I think if you're at all interested in Sylvia, I encourage you to get a demo. When you get the demo, they literally give you like an hour where they just go through the entire thing and show you all the features and all the front end and all the back end and all of that. So that's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Next up is John. Well, let me see if David sorted himself. David, I'm unmuting you again, and then I'll come to you, Johnny.
All right, there we go.
See, I'm telling you, 99% of the time, the restart just does it.
It's kicked me out right back in. Patrick, I really appreciate all of the information.
Thank you.
I got some lighting right here, like it's like from God shining down. I don't know.
No, it's all good.
But I really appreciate all the information. I used to paint a long time ago, about 13 years ago. Guy ran off with all my paintings, and then I just stopped. Just lost the passion for it. And so last year, heard a message and just started creating art again. And saw you guys on Facebook for probably a few years, and then just decided, I'm 51, so I just want to go ahead and get started, and with Instagram and all of that stuff going on. The information that you gave today is very, very helpful. My daughter knows how to do all that stuff, but for you to share that information right now is very helpful and inspiring.
You got to learn, David. You got to learn. We all have to learn. It's just the world that we live in today,
Yeah, I've worked in an industry where I see the effects post-COVID and then after, pre-COVID and then after COVID. So even with the transport business is what I'm in right now. It's just the world is different right now. And last year I was selling tried to sell some of my paintings at festivals and things like that. Guy came up and told me, he's like, you're not going to sell your artwork, talking with people at family festivals because you got kids pulling, the customer and, so that one-on-one that you mentioned is real important, so.
It is.
I'm
you could still sell at festivals though. Don't worry. They're still totally viable. Yeah.
Yeah. I was able to sell them, but, to talk about price points and all of that stuff. And, I'm in Texas, so it's 105 degree heat outside, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but to pull it into a more intimate level, that's what I hear.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. So that's all.
All right. Well, thanks, and I'm glad you got value out of it. That's all that matters to me. Johnny, you're up next. Go ahead, Johnny.
Thanks, Patrick. How you doing?
Good.
Awesome. Yes, I was wondering, what about drone footage? I got some landscape pictures from Chicago and Detroit, and do they do well on the art front?
Yeah, they do. It's again, it's less about what the subject matter material is or how it was acquired or any of that. Like, no one can tell you if your individual thing will sell until you get the product in front of buyers' eyes and see whether or not it'll sell. Stated another way, trying to pick, out of the gates who's going to be successful and who's not is kind of like picking horses. And I don't know if you've ever been to a horse race, but there's like thousands of people placing bets before, and then there's like one person collecting after the fact. That's what I've seen time and time again, Johnny, is like, you can't pick horses. And the other interesting thing that I've seen too is like, you have to know the answer to the question, because if you know the answer to the question, you can double down on what you're doing, or you can do something different, right? And everybody, like all artists and photographers, I notice, like they create the thing, then they never find the answer to the question, and then they're like, this would never sell, and they move on to the next thing. And it's like, wait a minute, yet we haven't gotten this in front of enough eyeballs, Johnny, to know whether or not it will or it won't. It could be a hit right out of the gates. It could sell mildly. It could sell somewhere in the middle, and we will just have no idea, and no one can tell you aside from the transaction. The transaction is the truth, right? Like everyone always tells me, like, people tell me my work is great. I get so many likes. I get so many comments. I get so many shares. I got into a juried art show, right? I won best in show at a something. And I always respond the same way, Johnny. And it's like, you hear that? That's me knocking at your front door. Get in the car. I'm going to pick you up. We're going down to the ATM machine, Johnny, and you show me the button on the ATM machine for my work is great, or likes, or comments, or shares, or juried show, or rewards. There is no button on the ATM machine, because those things don't mean anything, right? The only thing that matters is it selling. So that's what we help you do.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. And one last question. What about the replay? How are you going to post that?
I'm going to send it. Well, first of all, it'll be on YouTube the minute it's over, because I'm streaming it to YouTube. So if you don't want to wait, you can just go to YouTube, search Art Storefronts. It'll be there. But I'm going to email it to you, and there'll be a link.
Thank you so much for all the information today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for coming. All right. Well, guys, good session today. That was super fun. Glad you guys learned things. That is the most important thing for me is, 2 trains, 2 tracks. Artwork, doing the marketing. You have to embrace those 2 things. You got to love those 2 things. You got to make sure that there are no breaks on either train. And that's the path. That's the way. That is how you get there. That's how you do it. It doesn't happen overnight, but there has never been a better time. There's never been a better time. And I mean that honestly. Whether you sign up with Art Storefronts or not, like, leave the call, start work, and start grinding on things. Anthony, go ahead.
Hello, I had a question about pricing for us. As we're the sellers, how competitive is the company that you're partnered with in getting our own products for our galleries or our personal?
So pricing is one of these things that's hilarious to me, right? And again, I've had damn near 10 years in the trenches on this. I've read all the books on it, and I've also helped friends that have had gallery shows and gone through the whole thing. So there's a couple of questions that we have kicking around in the pricing scenario. Number one, in terms of our vendors, we use Bay Photo on the West Coast. We use a company called Graphic Dimensions on the East Coast. You can pick either one of those. We use a company called Guten for our merch. Because of our combined buying power, you will get prices from those vendors on most items that are cheaper than the prices would be if you walked off the street into their shops. Okay, great, fantastic. From there, how you mark up the work is utterly, totally, and completely up to you. We recommend a 250% markup based on your wholesale print cost. We recommend that as a good starting point because it gives you the ability to discount without losing your shirt, right? Like if you're 250% markup over your cost and you have a 20% off sale, it's not going to break you, right? Or a 30% off sale, or even a 50% off sale if you're so inclined. That's number one. Number two, pricing at the end of the day is all a game. Okay, you Google online, right? Like how to price my artwork, and you get a bunch of formulas from these people, and I'm sure they're well intentioned, but I would like to show up at their door, take the glove off, slap them, and go pistols at dawn because it's all nonsense. Size of the material plus square feet plus time involved plus this, like all of that is nonsense. Okay, there's only one thing that matters: is the work selling? Yes or no? And if not, no damn formula is going to help you. Once the work is selling, then we have a game to play, and the game is just this. You have to have prices from $0 to $100. You have to have prices from $100 to $1,000. You have to have prices $1,000 plus. You have to have all of that in your lineup. In addition to that, you need to have non-wall art as a part of your lineup, okay? critically, critically important. Why is that? Because not everybody's ready to buy wall art all the time. You will attract people into your ecosystem that are not ready to buy wall art, okay? And if you don't have something to sell them, they are gone. They are going to go watch cat videos. So when you have the non-wall art, and it can be anything, we have an entire range of merch that you can pick. Some of our customers do calendars or photo books or coasters or coffee mugs or, you know, the puzzles, yoga mats. We have a bunch of different stuff. Doesn't matter what it is, you have to have it. But when you set the pricing range, you're setting yourself up to maximize the ROI, the return on investment from your marketing efforts. Because there's a thing called the socioeconomic bell curve, and absolutely everyone's buyers fall into it. Lower middle class, or low income folks, lower middle class, upper middle class, high net worth individuals, the bell curve, right? You have to have prices for everyone on that curve. Critically, critically important to see the highest ROI from your marketing activities. And what no one talks about enough is the easiest customer to get is the one that you already have. Stated another way, it is way easier to get someone to come back and purchase again than it is to go out and acquire a new customer for the first time. When you understand that fundamental rule of this business, you realize I don't care what price point they come in at. My job is to get a customer in the door. When I do, I have the ability to market to them in perpetuity, and I have the potential that they might turn into a collector. What is a collector? It is the lifeblood of this business. Okay, it is defined in this guy's book, which I think you guys should all buy, okay? It's called Don't Be a Starving Artist. It is by Weiland. He is the whale guy. Most would say the best-selling artist in the entire United States, and apparently it's not even close. And that's based on his business model and what he does because he's got his own galleries and everything else. Anyway, Weiland defines a collector as people that will purchase an upwards of 7+ pieces of work from him over the course of a lifetime. Sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 20, and it's a beautiful phenomenon about art. Having collectors is what separates the amateur from the professional, the non-serious business from a serious business, because you keep creating, you keep raising your prices, and the collectors just keep coming back and back and back. So that is my long-term, sort of long-winded rant about pricing. I hope that answered everything. I'm going to unmute you again.
I had a question about transferring domain of a current website.
Yeah, it takes 2 seconds.
Have.
That takes 2 seconds. Easy,
Okay.
easy. And we'll do it for you because all that is such a headache. I mean, dude, I'm a tech guy and I hate GoDaddy. I hate all of them. Like DNS, this and that. Don't make my head hurt. We have people to do it. They will do it for you.
And that'll cost no extra
Nothing.
fees
Nothing.
or anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Good session. Good questions. Loved all of it. Do you find people, you asked me something, hold on. Do you find if people follow what you say, they become successful financially? Yes, a lot do. A lot certainly do. Again, you know, it's not easy, Sheridan. It's a freaking grind, right? You know, the expectation, and like some of our most unsuccessful customers, you know, let me put it this way. You'll find, ask any of my customers, I'm sure you get it from my, I just don't beat around the bush and I don't bullshit. I hate the expectations game where it's like, I'm so super sweet. I create my art. Just if I want to have a huge business, I flip a light switch and fish jump in my boat. Biggest bunch of bullshit in the history of mankind. You show me a successful artist, I'll show you someone that grinded like crap in the trenches for years. That part is painful. If you get through that, you will 100% have a successful business. What I believe is our business stacks the deck in your favor better than anything else that's out there, and it's not even close. We have the best set of circumstances to help artists thrive and survive if they're willing to do the work and put in the time, right? So that's a huge, huge, huge part of it. And you know, that's where we go in all of it. That's what I would say. She's typing something in the comment. If the cover charges about $2,000, a monthly charge about $60, and the commission on a sale, do you have a timeline? Yeah, it's a crystal ball question, Sheridan. Like, some people come out of the gates just firing. Some people struggle for 3 to 5 years and everything in between. A lot of times people will hit their groove and realize their groove is like $60 or $70 or $80,000 a year, and then they're like, oh man, I need something bigger. And then they'll switch their subject matter material, and that'll be the moment where it goes. Like I tell this story, because I think it's hilarious. Guy manages a restaurant manager. That's his day job. Lives in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Takes these beautiful, beautiful photos of kind of like industrial architecture. Sometimes at night, you know, so you have like the long exposure thing going on. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Had a decent business going on there. Turns out his other passion is going into a certain park that might or might not have something to do with a mouse. Sets his camera up on the tripod, takes photos of all those beautiful things, 5x the size of his business, quit his day job, and he's humming. Still sells both, right? So there's stories like that. There's stories that people that pay the entire thing off in the first month, and we have no idea how they did that. Like, oh my gosh, because they have great work and they had an audience and they were just so terrified to ask for a sale. They never did anything. Once we took care of it for them, it happened. So there's every story in between, and there's no crystal ball. And if anyone tells you there's a crystal ball, they are full of it. There's no magical formula. There's no 7-step Facebook ad test. All of it's nonsense. All you can do is say, I'm going to get my art in front of enough eyeballs to find out how well it'll sell. If it's selling well, I'm going to teach you how to amplify your reach and continue to do so for year after year after year after year. Ultimately, the rest is up to the artist in question and who you are, what makes you tick, the whole thing. So that's what I would say. All right, I'm running out of steam. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got value out of it. Hope you learned some things. Hope you leave here and make a live video. Kathy, you didn't say anything, but your porch looks extremely comfortable. I'd like to come out there and have a cold beer and look out at the vegetation there. It looks very nice. Other than that, send you guys the replay. Appreciate you all. If you're interested in what we do, Lord knows I'm going to email you 10 million times because that's what we do. And there's demo buttons all over the website. You can fill one of those things out. Somebody will get in touch. And hope everyone has a great rest of their week. Thanks, you guys.